Hey everyone, my name is David Rao and I'm the music teacher who blogs at makemomentsmatter.org. You can also find my ideas on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Pinterest, a variety of other places when you search for my name, David Rao, or Make Moments Matter. Tonight I'm here to talk a little bit about children's books, and I'm going to do another Use It and Lose It. And we'll talk about those in just a second, but in case you hear me talk about a book or a resource or something you're very interested in, there's a whole page on my blog dedicated to the links I share in these videos. You can either go to my blog, makemomentsmatter.org, and click the video tab to find the recap page, or if you're watching or listening somewhere, probably it's the bottom of the caption of this video, you can go straight there on that link. One more housekeeping thing. I'm going to be in the greater Toledo, Ohio area this weekend for the Northwest Ohio ORF chapter. If you're in the area and you want to come join us for a workshop, it's 9 to 1. It's at Maumee Intermediate School. You can find all the details about that on my Facebook page or my blog if you're interested to come join us. Also, a week after that, which is October 21st, I will be doing the Michigan Music Educators Fall Conference, and that's going to be at Wayne State University in Greater Detroit. And if you're a Michigan music educator, I hope I'll see you all there on October 21st. So this weekend, October 14th, at the Northwest Ohio ORF chapter, and the following weekend at Michigan Music Educators Fall Conference. Hope I'll see you there. Okay, so it is almost the end of Latinx and Hispanic Heritage Month, and I was looking at all the books that I had set out and all the books that I had used and all the ways I'd used resources this past month, and I was thinking about how I use books in my classroom, and I use them in a ton of different ways. And I was thinking that there are some times, and myself included in the past, where I've thought, I can't use this book because, or this book just isn't the right kind of book for my classroom because, and I wanted to do a use it and lose it idea of about books in general, and specifically the lose it of this mindset. I can't use it for this reason, this reason, this reason, and I want to talk about some of those reasons and how you can use them actually. So there are going to be like 3 examples of books that like I maybe would have passed over in the past, but now I know like I should use this book even though maybe originally I didn't think it was going to work. And then I want to talk about one book and what you should do as far as resources and how to use that book more effectively. So I want to talk about 3 books and how you might use them in your classroom. And my first 3 lose it. The first idea that you should lose is this idea that to use a book in the elementary music classroom, it needs some sort of rhyme or jingle or song or thing that goes with it. You don't need that to use it in an elementary music classroom. It's cool if the book, like, you can like create a little song that goes with it, or if it has a repeating pattern that you can say over and over. Like, that's great, but that is not required to use a book in your classroom. In fact, just use the book however you want. It's up to you. You're the teacher. So I'm going to show you just a couple books about how you can use them that don't have that like little catchy phrase or little song to go with them, and how you might integrate them in different ways. The first book is this book called All the Way to Havana, and this is by Margarita Engel, illustrated by Mike Curato. Margarita Engel wrote a couple other really great books I've recommended in the past, so this already I'm excited about, but it starts out with just the first page showing all these vintage cars, and if you know Cuba, you know that they cannot import new cars, and so there are a ton of old cars going around in Cuba. So let me read just a couple pages of this, and then we'll talk about how you might integrate this into your classroom in sort of a natural way. We have a gift, and we have a cake, and today we're going to drive all the way to the big city to see my new baby cousin on his 0-year birthday. Some of this island's old cars purr like kittens, but ours is so tired that she just chatters like a busy chicken. Kata, 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 cluck, 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 cluck. Today, kata, kata sounds like a tiny baby chick. Pew, 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 pew. Papa opens the trunk and lets me hand him the heavy toolbox. Then he raises the hood to show me all the rattling parts that have been fixed with wire, tape, and mixed up scraps of dented metal. He listens to each tapping taka-taka noise that kata kata makes as together we struggle to fix all the grunts, squeals, and grumbling. Clunk clunks that should be busy cluck cluck clucks. I choose a wrench and a bolt and a belt. No luck. But we keep trying and trying, even though all the silly noises are still a mystery unsolved. We don't give up. We experiment. We invent. A twist here, a tightening there, move this, hold that, until finally, after discouraging minutes that feel like endless hours, kata kata once again begins to sound like a chattering hen. The road is bumpy and our noisy car ends up so crowded with friendly neighbors who need a ride that we feel like we're traveling in a barrel of elbows and knees. But we have a gift, and we have a cake, and we're driving to my new baby cousin's 0-year birthday. Now, I could read all this. I'm not going to go through and read all of it, but there are a lot of things in this book that I think are really cool. It doesn't have that like song or rhyme or thing that you could keep repeating or whatever. You don't need that, but it does have some really cool descriptive language, like kata kata, taka taka, zoom zoom. It has all these cool sounds that they hear, which you could absolutely have kids repeat and recreate if you wanted. It shows all these beautiful views of Cuba, which maybe your kids haven't seen or don't get the chance to see or don't have a context for. I know my students wouldn't. I don't really. So having these is a really, really great example. They talk about all the things they see, all the other cars that they see. Just really, really beautiful imagery. Really cool pictures. You can sort of see the infrastructure and things, the way that the cities look. Okay, this is fun too. But most cars just honk, honk, honk as they glide bumpity bump on potholed city streets, where people lean over crumbling balconies as laundry dances and a sea breeze sings. When we finally reach Tia's house, I hug Abuelo and everyone smiles as we admire the funny baby boy who is too little to know how to open a gift, or play with a box and the ribbon, or build a teetering mango and pineapple tower. And then they go home and they talk about some of the things they hear on the way back. Oops, I think I missed the page. Oh, no. Okay. So it goes through and it talks about all these cool sounds that kids can hear and see. One of the things I really love is that even though it's not explicitly like there's this song or there's this whatever, there's so much musicality in what they're doing. You see a guitar on one page, you hear them say like the sea breeze sings. So this is a really cool book that you could use for like found sounds, or like how do you make a song or a sound out of some of the things in there. You could pull out some of that descriptive sound. You could talk about, I love talking with kids about how like, does the car really go kata 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 kata? No, but there's really no way you can write down exactly what sounds the cars make. So the author here is using their best approximation. They're getting as close as they can. And you could use other sounds. You could use instrument sounds. You could give each one a non-pitched instrument and say, I want you to find a way with your words or some word to make a sound like that. How would you write it down? How would you know? Like, that's a really fun challenge for some kids. You could level it up if you wanted to do something more tricky like that and have them write out maybe rhythms or things based on the sounds that they come up with. You could use sounds from the book. It's totally up to you. But I think it's a really great book that shows like we're giving kids all this great context about Cuba. We're talking about the culture. We're talking about the history. And we don't have to have like a, now we're going to Havana, Havana, Havana. We don't need a song. We don't need any of that. And we can really get some really cool musical things out of here. Even if we didn't do any of those like rhythm or whatever examples, it's a really cool book. And it shows them a lot of really cool images. I think you could pull a lot out of here, or just give context to a lesson if you're teaching another song or something else. You're talking about like someone who lived in Cuba, a musician who came out of Cuba. This would be a great book to give a little bit of context and explanation. Okay. That's one example of you need to lose that idea of it must be XYZ for it to be a book to use in my classroom. That's the example. It must have a repeatable song or repeatable whatever to be used in my classroom. I don't think that's true. Here's another book that I want to talk about and show. It's called When Angels Sing. This is the story of rock legend Carlos Santana. This is by Michael Maheen and art by Jose Ramirez. And I'll show you why I didn't want to use it initially in my classroom and then talk about ways that you can. When you were born, your tío abuela called you El Cristalino, the crystal one. She thought the light of angels shined through you. Your father wanted to name you Geronimo after a brave Apache freedom fighter. He was proud of his mestizo blood. But your mother, as always, had the final word. Carlos. Your father, like your grandfather before him, was a traveling musician. You missed him when he went away. You missed the soapy smell of maha on his skin and the smile in his eyes, but most of all you missed the sound of his violin. When he was home, people would crowd the square to hear him play. It was a sound that filled the world with magic and love and feeling and healing. It was a sound that made angels real. You wanted to make angels real, too. First you tried el clarinete, but the buzzy reed was too fussy for your nose. Then you tried el corneo, grandfather's instrument, but the taste of brass was too bitter on your lips. Finally you tried el violin. You scratched and squeaked and practiced so hard your tears stained its wood, but it would not sing for you, not like it sang for your father. There were no angels when you played. Not yet, at least. When I'm good enough, they will come, you thought. And then it goes through and it talks a little bit more about his life, but let me just keep changing the page, and maybe you can see why I initially was like, no. Keep going, and I keep going, and keep going, and keep going. Oh my gosh, there's so many pages. It goes on forever and ever and ever. So I'll just tell you, the reason that I did not initially use this was it is so super long, and every page has a ton of text. The illustrations are absolutely beautiful, but it's hard for kids who are a little bit further away to see them and to really connect with them. So how can you use this in your classroom? If you're going to do a read aloud, a lot of kids would get lost along the way because they might get bored, they might get frustrated. So how can you use this book in a convincing or useful way? Well, first of all, I like just having it on the shelf. Like, I don't think that there's any harm to having the book and having it out to show kids, like, yeah, there's a book about Santana, or there's this book about whoever. It helps them see musicians that maybe they know, or maybe they've heard of, or maybe they haven't, and get them into their head. So I think having it out is a really great thing. If you want to use it and have them know the story, I saw something really cool when I was in a kindergarten classroom just last week. This kindergarten teacher had kids going through centers. And that's usually where I'll put books. I'll put books we've already read or books maybe we haven't read. And one of the things that she did was she had these books in centers, and these kindergartners who have only been here like 8 weeks or whatever, they learned really quickly. They would take their iPad and their headphones. They'd grab the book. They'd open it up, and right on the inside cover was a QR code. So what the teacher had done, the teacher had gone through and read through the whole book. It's like just recorded themselves an audio file of them reading the book. They put it in Seesaw, but I think you could put it in Google Drive or somewhere else. And basically the kids just open up, they do the QR, it opens up the sound file, and then they flip along as their teacher reads the book to them. It's all pre-recorded. It's just the audio file of their teacher going through and reading the book. So then kids can actually like go through and turn pages, and I think she even says like turn the page here or whatever. And points out things along the way. So those kids who are in the center, they have the book there, and then it's already done pre-recorded for them. I thought that was so cool. A lot of times I'll put books like this in centers, but for some kids, the words, okay, if you look at the page, the words are really small. They're a font that's actually sort of hard for some kids, and it's a lot of words, which just discourages some kids from even trying. So I think having a pre-recorded thing to go with it would be so cool. And you don't just have to have it in your center. What if you like checked this out to different teachers, or had it in the library as like a center in there? Like my librarian will sometimes do centers, and I thought like, what if I pre-recorded these things and gave them the idea, and then they put, like, I trust if the book is in a center in the library, I absolutely trust that they would take care of it and not let it get hurt or whatever, or, you know, ripped, or like, I know the librarians and the library assistants are amazing. So if you had that pre-recorded, you doing it, you could quickly, you know, like if you did this to 1 or 2 books, a quarter or a week or semester or month or whatever, you would have so many books that you could then pull out into centers. And it's really easy for kids to scan a QR code and pull up. And if they have their headphones, they can hit play. And that's really easy to do. So if my kindergartners at 8 weeks can do that, I know that other kids can too. So don't take a book and be like, I don't think I can use it. It's just too long. Because you can put it in a center, you can do a recording of yourself. When we did COVID a few years ago, I did read aloud versions that I had as extra backup time. I know that your homeroom teachers would absolutely appreciate you recording a read aloud to share with kids who had finished work early or done stuff like that. And sometimes I'll do that. I'll share that with the grade level teachers in case the kids get done early. Then they can see me reading a book, and then they can hear me reading the book. And so it's if I don't always get to it in class, it can be a fun extension activity for them in their homeroom too. And it can get you some of these books that maybe you wouldn't normally get to otherwise. So don't think that just because it's too long or too many words that it's not usable. Maybe it's not usable in the way you use a lot of other books, but it is still an absolutely usable book for your classroom in general. Okay, so use it or lose it. Number one is lose the idea that it has to have a song or game or a rhyme associated with it. Lose it. Number two is if you feel like it's too long or too wordy, that's not true. You can absolutely use it. Here's one more lose it idea. Okay, this is called Rosa's Song. This is by Helena Curie and Pascal Campion. And let me just read. I'm actually going to read through all of this one if I can. Jay was new to the country, the city, the building. His family's apartment faced an alley, and Jay looked out the window. If he stared hard enough, would he be able to see his old village, his old home, his old friends? No, he'd moved too far away. His mother said, "You should go meet the other kids in the building." What if they don't like me? What if I forget my new words? You won't know if you just stay here. Jay put on his shoes and went downstairs to the apartment below his. He rang the bell. A girl opened the door. A colorful bird sat on her shoulder. "Hi," she said. "I'm Rosa. This is my parrot, Pollito. It means little chicken." Jay giggled. "Good name," he said, using the new words he'd learned. Rosa asked, "Can I visit your apartment? I want to see where you live." Jay started heading upstairs. Rosa followed with Pollito on her shoulder. Jay liked how friendly Rosa was and how Pollito nestled by her ear. Inside, Jay turned to Rosa and said, "No shoes." He removed his sneakers, and Rosa did the same. As Rosa looked around the apartment, her eyes gleamed as if she discovered something amazing. She studied a vase with a dragon and colorful rice cakes on the kitchen table. Jay walked to the window. Where he was from, you could see mountains everywhere. "No mountains," he said. Rosa climbed on the sofa. She clawed a cushion and said, "I'm climbing up, up, up a mountainside. I'm heading for the clouds." She smiled at the ceiling. Jay thought he saw clouds up there. Jay remained by the window. He glanced at the empty alley below. Where he was from, people sold fruits and vegetables on the street. "No people," he said. "No food." Rosa approached the window. "I smell roasted corn and fresh strawberries. I hear music, too." Jay closed his eyes and imagined the scent of fresh fruit, the melody of a pretty song filling his ears and his chest. Rosa went to a bookshelf. It held photos of Jay's old seaside village and a few of his old friends. Jay suddenly felt so sad. Rosa surprised him by leaning with her hands cupped against the wall. She whispered, "If you do this, you'll hear the sea." Jay did the same. He heard a quiet ocean breeze. He smelled the saltiness of the sea. "I'll be your friend," Rosa said. "Pollito, too." Jay glanced around his small apartment. It didn't seem so boring or lonely anymore. "Want to sing with Pollito?" Rosa asked. She and Pollito sang, "Cuando vuelo lejos, mi corazón se queda aquí." When I fly away, my heart stays here. Rosa caressed Pollito's wings while they sang again and again. During the following weeks, Jay and Rosa explored the apartment complex for lost llamas, golden Inca treasures, and a rainforest with parrots, like where Rosa was from. They sang with Pollito, who always remembered the song Rosa had taught him. When I fly away, my heart stays here. The summer went by quickly, thanks to Rosa and Pollito. Jay learned so many new words. He and Rosa shouted cartwheel on the grass and sunset at the sky. One morning, Jay woke to find Rosa's colorful bird in his apartment. Why is Pollito here? He asked his mother. Rosa wanted you to have him. Jay was startled, but she loves Pollito. Rosa and her family had to move away. Where? Jay felt tears coming. His mother wrapped him in a hug. Back to where they're from. But why didn't she tell me? His mother cried too. I don't think she knew. They had to leave quickly. They didn't have a choice. Jay ran downstairs. Rosa's apartment was quiet. He peered in the doorway. Nobody was inside. Jay sat on the floor and cried. A little while later, Jay went home. Pollito hopped onto Jay's hand and began to sing. When I fly away, my heart stays here. But Jay couldn't sing. He didn't even feel like talking. Someone knocked at the door. A girl and boy stood in the hallway. Is that your bird? The girl asked. What's its name? Pollito, Jay said. Little chicken. They giggled. Pollito started to sing again. The boy asked, Can you teach us the song? Jay nodded. He remembered how Rosa would caress Pollito's wings while they sang, so he did the same. As the music filled his ears and his chest, he felt a little less lonely, a little less sad. And the author's note says, I grew up in an apartment building near downtown Los Angeles where people constantly moved in and out. Whether due to a family's change in financial status, marital status, or even immigration status, young friendships were often disrupted just as they were forming. I wrote this story because I remembered the loneliness that resulted from friends leaving suddenly, frequently without any warning. Thankfully, life always presented hope for new friendships and new beginnings, usually just a knock away. So this book, I think, is really wonderful and really cool, and I think sometimes we have this idea that I only want to use the books that are like happy and excited and have a fun, cool little song to go with them. And I think this book is a really, really wonderful book for a ton of reasons. It gives kids a view and understanding that maybe they wouldn't have before. It shows that feelings are okay. It's okay to feel sad if you're sad. It's okay to feel happy, to feel trepidation, and to be scared about meeting new people. It's especially great for your English language learners who are like, I don't know if I'm going to say the wrong thing, and then they go and they make friends anyway, and they learn all these cool new words together. So it has so many really, really wonderful connections. What I love is that they connect over song and over sing. They sing in Spanish, they sing in English. Jay is obviously not from a Spanish-speaking country. He's from, it doesn't say where exactly he's from, but he's from an Asian country because it talks about like the rice cakes and the dragon on the vase and all that, and taking off his shoes, which are all like cultural sort of touch points of an Asian culture. But it doesn't have to say what country or what culture exactly they come from for you to sort of see and tell that like they're meeting up, and this is just a place where they meet together at this apartment building, and whatever culture they brought with them, they're sharing it with each other, they're talking to each other, and they're like discovering and exploring together. So it's a super fun book for like if you want to talk about imagination. You could talk about how songs are uniting us. I think it'd be really cool and easy to do a lesson about like if you were to meet someone new, do you have a song that you could teach them? And what song would that be? Or do you know a song from like our location from here in Kansas? You know, or do you have a song that maybe your parents taught you that is one that they grew up loving? Or maybe you could even send home the assignment of like go home and find a song that your parents or your grandparents or whatever that they sing or they know that represents them or is great for them. So I think it's just like so many really cool connections, and I feel like I initially when I saw this book I was like, I don't know if I could do that. It's sad. Like it is legitimately sad. But the whole point is that like you make these connections, they shape who you are, they help you grow, and even though, yes, it can be a little sad, you can grow through that, and you can make more friends and meet more people, and you don't have to be stuck in the sad. You can feel those feelings. That's totally fine. But, you can learn from them too. I think it's just a super cool book. It's called Rosa's Song. So the lose-its of today are lose the idea that it must have a song or game or something to go with it to be used in the classroom. It can't be too long. That's another thing to lose. Lose that mindset. And one more thing is it has to be a happy book. It does not. It can be sad. It can be scared. It can be, trepidation, whatever. There are a lot of feelings you can feel. Okay, and then our use-it of tonight, well, I sort of gave some use-its with those lose that mindset. Here's the new one. But I wanted to give you one book that I thought was really cool that gives you more connections. And it's this book called Sebi in the Land of Cha-Cha-Cha. This is by Rosalind Sanchez and Eric Winter. Let me just read just a couple pages and I'll show you some cool things you can do with it. It was El Carnaval Latino. The dancers in the street twirled and swirled their feet, moving like magic. Oh, Mommy, said Sebi, watching from the sidewalk. What is that dance? I want to do it. It's the cha-cha-cha, said her mother. When you're a little older, you can take lessons. Let's try it, said Sebi to her friend Kike. Do boys dance like that? Kike asked. Sebi's grandmother nodded. In Latin dancing, the boys lead the way. What about the girls? Asked Sebi. Her mother smiled. The girls glide with graceful strength. As Sebi and Kike took a few uncertain dance steps, a bright green bird fluttered into sight. Oh, look, said Sebi's mother. That's a Cotora. The Cotora flapped its wings as if it was waving at them before it flew away. The Cotora wants us to follow it, said Sebi. I just know it. Sebi and Kike squeezed into the bushes. As they crawled in deeper, the smells around them got sweeter. They heard Latin music again. When they found their way to the other side, it was clear they weren't in the park anymore. Hola, said the Cotora. Welcome to the land of Cha-Cha-Cha. Bienvenido, said another beautiful bird. I am the Cha-Cha-Cha Cacatua. Would you like to learn my dance, the Cha-Cha-Cha? Yes, 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 Sebi cried. First stand like this, in dance position, and repeat after us. One leg forward and step, step, step. One leg backward and step, step, step. Now make circles with your hips. Forward circle, backward circle. Cha-cha-cha, 1 and 2 and 3. Cha-cha-cha, Sebi shouted. Cha-cha-cha, shouted Kike. Muy bien, said the Cacatua. Very good. Well done, said some monkeys swooping down from the streets. ¿Cómo están? How are you? We are the merengue monkeys, and that is what we dance. Would you like to learn the merengue? Yes, 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 Sebi shouted. Claro, Kike said. Of course. Excellent, said the tallest merengue monkey. Take these brooms and begin sweeping the ground. March while you swing your hips from side to side, he went on. Too stiff, said the littlest monkey. You are not robots. You are dancers. Bend one knee at a time. The more you bend, the more your hips swing. Now let's merengue. Now, Kike, put down your broom and dance with Sebi, said the tallest merengue monkey. Sebi, bend your elbow and hold up your hand. Kike, take her hand and turn her. Wepa, said the monkeys together. Well done. Okay, so, and then the squirrels come, and they're the samba squirrels, and they teach Sebi and Kike how to do the samba. And they dance together, and then they go back and they find their mom and their abuela, and they say, El Carnaval is about to end, and they say, and they show off some of their dance moves. And she said, you look like you're ready to start dancing now. And they're like, you know what? I think we already have. And then, so they talk a little about the cha-cha-cha, the merengue, or the cha-cha, the merengue, and the samba. They talk a little bit about it at the end. But what I love that goes with this book, if you're like, okay, that's really cool, but I don't dance those dances. And so, like, where can I find something that'll help explain this better or whatever? So this book was written with the idea that young children could be a part of Latin dance, that they wanted, like, Latin ballroom dance, basically. And they wanted young children to experience this. And this is like the first time experience. So the authors, if you go to sebibook.com, which I linked on the links page, they have a YouTube video, which is a tutorial video. There's a professional Latin dancer, and he leads, like, preschoolers in dancing these dances, and it is simplified versions of them, right? But he leads them through, and so like you see the kids do it, you see some of the kids totally fail, or they're behind the beat. Some kids are like right on, and it's cool, but it is like legitimately the first time they have danced these dances. Like if you imagine taking your kindergartners being like, okay, we're going to dance this, like what that would look like. Only there's like a professional Latin dancer who's leading them and giving them really good instructions. So it's really fun to see, but absolutely could work as a tutorial video for your students. The one thing I would say about the video that I don't totally like, I love almost all of it. There's one thing I don't really love. When he says like right and left, they don't mirror it in the video. So the kids are like going to their right, but it looks like to my students, it looks like going to the left. So if there's a way that you can like mirror the video on YouTube, that'd be really cool. So when he says right, it goes to my students, our students, right? If you are able to download the video, which I'm not going to tell you to do because that violates copyright, but if you could find a way to do that in QuickTime, there's a really quick way to flip the video. It's like flip horizontal or flip vertical, I can't remember what, but there's a way in QuickTime, if you had it downloaded, if there was a way to do that, like if you googled download YouTube video and found a way, anyway, there'd be a way to flip that vertically. But anyway, what I'll say is that I think this book is so cool. It's a really great introductory thing for like even your youngest students. And it's fun to explore with them. Like the animals are fun to like lead them through it. And then the video there is really great. It's like 9 minutes long. This would be another great one for a substitute teacher to read and to like put the video up there. But what I'll say is that this book I think is super cool. And like there are books like this where you're like, man, I wish there was an example video. And then right there on the back is the link to where you get it. Like there are so many books that have these extras and things that go with them. The other thing I'll say is that when you go onto like BookFlix or Epic or whatever the new kid book websites are, there are so many read alouds out there. And so I'll say my last tip for children's books is ask your librarian what books are kids using to do read alouds, because my kids have two things at their school, BookFlix and Epic, and then I know there are like 18 different other things that you can find out there, or even just on YouTube or whatever, but there are books all over. So sometimes if you find a really cool book, if you go on and look, there are read alouds by the author, by a famous person, by whoever, that you can use in case you want to add it into like a sub-plan or you just want to use it in your own classroom. Okay, so I hope this gives you some ideas of what how you can take a book and use it for your classroom, just to sort of quickly reiterate, and you can always go back and rewatch if you want. The ideas that we should get over and stop thinking in our heads are the book must have some song or rhyme to go with it. That's not true. There's so much you can do even if the book doesn't have that song or game or rhyme that just pops right out at you. There are so many ways that you can pull out and use really great content from books that you love. The book is too long. It's too wordy. No, it might be, but there are still ways to use it. Maybe not in the way that you do normally, like in front of the read aloud for just your kids, for your, whatever, younger grades. You can still use it in fun and cool ways, and I shared some of those earlier. The book must be happy and have a happy ending. Nope. Doesn't need to, because that's not real life. And so we can use books that maybe are sad or have sad themes or just themes from real life, and we can use those as we teach our kids, and there are really great ways to connect our kids to those, even though like my kids in suburban Kansas maybe don't feel like they can. Maybe it feels like a disconnect that you're like, okay, we're going to talk about these kids who are like itinerant in downtown LA. No, there are so many connections. We talked about a bunch of them tonight that you can help kids and helps grow their worldview. And then, oh my gosh, I wish we had some way to make this really cool, authentic dance. I don't feel comfortable as like a white dude in suburban Kansas teaching this. I don't know. My dance skills are okay, but like what if I wanted more help? Well, guess what? A lot of these books already have some of those things out there for you that are pre-made, ready for you to go. So check out those books, look into the resources, and find there are so many resources out there that'll be so super helpful. Okay, that was a lot in just about 30 minutes. So if you want to go back and rewatch or re-listen, you totally can. Remember, I hope I'll see a bunch of you guys this Saturday at the Northwest Ohio ORF Chapter Workshop in Greater Toledo. And then next week on the 21st, I hope I'll see a bunch of you all at the Michigan Music Educators Association Fall Conference at Wayne State University in Detroit. And if not, maybe I'll see you all next Monday for another Musical Mondays video. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a really great night.